So let me ask you a question. Do you think a lot of us men are too fear-based when it comes to relationships?
Yeah, I do think people who move from a fear-based place are fascinating to me. I think when you move from a place of fear, oftentimes your worst fear is eventually realized. So I do see a lot of times that, like, I'm not really sure what cosmic principle causes that, but I do believe in that. Some part of me thinks that if you feel like you're almost sure that that fear is going to be realized, and that's almost kind of like you're inadvertently calling out some part of yourself that you feel like could cause you to go that path in some way. Because if the person doesn't exist yet, right? You don't know the person, you haven't met the person, you don't even have an avatar to put in place of that person, like a wife, right? You haven't even met a wife yet, but you're already deciding all of these things are going to happen. Then it would have to speak to some kind of deficit in yourself. So I feel like if you're moving from a fear-based place, you could maybe use some of that energy to try to work on and do some self-work, some shadow work, maybe to work on your negative self in some way, so that the chances of you going that pathway is less likely. And of course, you're going to be marrying a person who has their own thoughts and feelings, so there's always a risk there inherently, that you don't know how another person is going to choose to move. But I think that fear is a lot less pronounced when you've done the work and you know you're coming to the table as your best self. And that means you're not that I'm perfect, but I've done a lot of work that can mitigate a lot of things that I know will ruin a relationship. I think you don't have to be in that place. So yeah, I do think a lot of men are fear-based. And I think also it's because of lack of understanding. Like, you really don't kind of understand the people that you're engaging with in a way. It's like women are these aliens, and it's like we have a whole way of thinking. But I do hear a lot. For me, it sounds a lot like a defeatist attitude. A lot of men seem like when they talk about relationships and the dynamics. It sounded like you're already defeated before you even try a lot of times.
Victim mentality applies to this kind of stuff too. Like, men keep talking about being oppressed now, like male oppression. I'm like, how, bruh? How? But I understand as far as the way they feel, it may be different than the reality. But I'm like, yo, why? There's so much focus on what might go wrong that you can't ever have a chance of it going right, because you're never going to take that risk. MTR,
right.
Mediocre Tutorial and Review. I used to listen to him, but he sounded so pessimistic. I'm like, it'll never go right if you'll never take a risk. You'll always lose. Like, if you can't win a game you never play. So yeah, right. That was my thing.
It's like you're not choosing your battles. You're just not battling at all.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, pick your battles. It's like, okay, I understand you may not want to, jump on how she washes the dishes because it's not the way you were taught. Like, I can understand not wanting to fight that battle, but like, there are some battles that are worth fighting. But I think a lot of men are opting out of battling at all.